Ja, herzlich willkommen zu einer neuen Ausgabe Interview. Bei mir heute ein Gast, den wir schon vor einem Jahr ungefähr da gehabt haben. Ich habe nachgeschaut, am 17. Februar habe ich dieses Interview veröffentlicht. Das heißt, eigentlich muss ich es früher gemacht haben. Schauen wir gleich nach, wann habe ich es denn früher gemacht. Aber ein paar Tage früher in der Regel. Frederick Pels, er ist der Blackhawk Growth CEO und Direktor. Ich bin Aktionär. Ja, schauen wir mal, was sich in dem letzten Jahr getan hat. Es hat sich einiges getan bei der Company, auch wenn der Share Price es noch nicht wirklich so zeigt. Aber es könnten da ein paar ganz spannende Dinge kommen. Fred, thank you for your time. I said it in my German introduction, I have a conflict of interest. I'm a shareholder. Your company is more a holding company or holding structure. You have many different companies under your umbrella, and few of them are very interesting. I think 3 or 4 months ago I have an interview with MindBio. That's one of your companies, and you are now thinking to list this company or spin it out from the Blackhawk. Then holding company have always one problem, that normally the value, what is really in the company, not showing up in the share price. And when you look at your share price, there are some stock outside, they have a little bit better performance than you. What is your feeling now, and what is was before we maybe start with MindBio, and then you have many other very interesting companies in your company, and maybe then we can talk a little bit deeper to this or for these stocks.
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me back, Joe. Blackhawk is an investment issuer, so our goal has been to identify assets that we could incubate within our structure. And then find a way to realize that value for our shareholders by either vending them out to bigger companies, and the other option we have, of course, is spinning them out. So Blackhawk's involved in various sectors, all of them very exciting, as you mentioned. Our trouble, as many investment issuers have a trouble, is telling the story. So it's very hard to realize the value of multiple sectors inside of one investment issuer. And that's why I think the path for Blackhawk, and Blackhawk's always been striving for this, is to get the assets to a point where they're strong enough where they can survive on their own. And then the ability for an investor to invest in a sector that they're interested in and comprehend and understand increases the value of that company once it's spun out. So that has, effectively been what we've done with Blackhawk. We're in the psychedelic sector with MindBio, as you had mentioned, and MindBio is going to be our first successful push for a spin out. The intent there is to look at that sector and market it, and provide information to the investor that's looking to invest in that sector, because MindBio is an incredible value. And next to it is assets that we have in the cannabis sector, and we also have assets in the shelf-stable food sector. So we want to make sure that we're able to target the investors that are interested in those sectors, and that's why you're going to see some value appreciation when the sector, or when the sector focus spin out or vend out occurs.
Mm-hmm. Okay, you say MindBio is maybe the first company. So how are the plans here? So when we can expect? Is this 2022 or is this later?
No, it's, we're looking for this year. Both teams have been working really hard in creating a prospectus. The prospectus includes all the details of the company, the spin out, financial requirements, etc. Those are then provided to shareholders before our next AGM. So when the AGM is announced, you can be certain that the prospectus is complete. and then shareholders actually have to vote to approve the spin out. I suspect they'll be eager to do so. It's an amazing value, but it also provides all the information needed for shareholders to make that decision. And what we've proposed and what needs to be approved is a 1-for-1 ratio spin out, meaning every Blackhawk share that a shareholder owns will receive 1 share in the MindBio spin out. So effectively doubling the stock that you own. You still have your stock in Blackhawk, but you also receive day 1 trading shares in MindBio's SpinCo. So once we have a successful AGM, everybody votes for that. It's up to the exchange. It can be anywhere from 2 to 4 months for MindBio to become trading and listing.
One question. I have also not only shares, I have also the listed warrant, for example. Or I think also a warrant through or one of the private placement. I'm not exactly, is this a listed warrant or not? What's happened with the warrant? Must I exercise this before that I get the share, or
with the warrants and all of the finer details, I can't speak to that right now, Joe, but it will be provided in the prospectus. So again, that's a bit more of the information that comes with that. We will be making announcements with the process of the spin out as they become available, but we have to do everything through official news dissemination channels, and even that, unfortunately, I can't comment on unless we put out a news release first. But it 100% will be inside the prospectus, and all shareholders will get that.
Okay, perfect. Then normally is this only the shares get another share for the MindBio and not the warrants, but that's mean I must exercise these warrants first. So it's also not bad for your company, then you get more money in.
Yeah, I mean, we're expecting there to be some warrants getting exercised here, but we will be able to put information out for you.
But this is in the future. We don't know exactly, or we must wait before when we see the prospectus. Is there any other company MindBio is clear. That's the focus at the moment. But when I look at the portfolio, what I have, and I have here the slide 3, 4, and 5 of your presentation, and you have here some of your companies, or all of the companies. Is there other sector where you say maybe we do a similar thing, not to this year, maybe next year or something, or then they are good enough to let them go to the market as a standalone company?
Well, I mean, it's no secret we have some really great cannabis assets, Noble Hemp, Sac Pharma, and Terp Wholesale. So looking at the cannabis focused potential there for another SpinCo or a vend out, obviously now people can kind of put together the pieces of the puzzle of what is Blackhawk, how did we get to all of these assets together. And I think you can see our goal has always been to find one asset that's good enough to push on its own, or a multiple, and I think that's where we've gotten to on our cannabis side as well. So that is definitely a potential spin out or vend out to another company to get stronger. If they spin out, again, they're cash flowing really well. They're exceptional operators, and those are the things that we look at when we look at these assets before we acquire them, is where are they going to be in 2-3 years? And so through the process, we grew from one very small cannabis asset to now 3 very good, very valuable assets that, between their revenue and their expansion, very well could stand on their own very soon. I don't want to speak to timelines, but that was always the plan.
Okay, cannabis from the market standpoint is really a tough business. When you look at the cannabis stocks, the big ones, they have the last year only one direction. It was not really the best place to be as a shareholder, but I see the growth itself in the market. So the market is growing, but the share price of the most cannabis stocks is going down. How the revenue looks like on your product, your companies, portfolio companies. You own them 100%, so that you must also announce the revenue what you have in these companies.
Yeah, well, they're standalone subsidiaries. So Blackhawk doesn't claim their revenue, especially being an investment issuer. We leave it within the subcos, and that permits for us to make it a lot easier to do the audits for when we do intend to spin these out. They are very much separate operations from Blackhawk. So Blackhawk does not pull any cash from those assets. But we're seeing revenue growth in all these cannabis assets, and there's some very significant catalysts down the road. And again, the companies themselves are very important, but it's also their path to growth. We're not having one good company doing the same thing every month. There's something to be said for that. But for us to see a company appreciate in value in the stock market, it has to continue to grow. The story is growth and building and continuation. And because all three of these assets that I speak to have been growing inside of Blackhawk, once they're on their own or acquired by another company, there's still continued growth. And that's what we want to present. And the other catalyst, of course, is I don't know if in Germany you have the same news flow that we do, but there's an appetite in the US among governments to continue the conversation about federal decriminalization or legalization. And it's definitely around the corner. As being witness to it in Canada and being a big part of it, I fully expect there to be a very tide-changing announcement out of the US regarding cannabis legalization, and whether it's this year or next year, I don't know, but I'm sure it will be before the next election. So we have a bit of time to continue to incubate these assets and watch the appetite come back to the sector once that conversation gets a bit more serious. But everything that we've been reading is pointing to continued conversation about federal legalization or decriminalization in the US, which would be a massive catalyst for us and, of course, the whole industry as a whole.
Which company would be the biggest or get the biggest advantage from this legal process?
That would have to be Terp Wholesale. And the reason is Terp can be a brand house. So it can white label manufacture products for anybody looking to get into the marketplace. There's a lot of appetite for that already. We also have it's very vertical. We cultivate, rare proprietary strains at SAC Pharma. And then we are able to package them or produce any type of product that anybody may want at Terp Wholesale, which is our production facility. So we have packaging, marketing, transportation. It's a one-stop shop for anybody looking to get into the marketplace, as well as we represent some of the biggest brands in California already. So as those brands hopefully be able to travel freely across state lines, the production demand is going to increase. And that will just continue to increase the cash flow and profitability of Terp Wholesale.
Do you have any numbers what the two companies at the moment has on revenue or something?
I don't have them in front of me, so I would hate to misspeak, but you're looking at about 5 million in revenue between the two right now.
And the Noble Hemp is also US based, or is the Canadian based? So
yeah,
I have a very interesting discussion from I think 1 week ago or 2 weeks ago, and we see a big difference between the Canadian market. They are very the US in the end coming out. The US market is really working very well, and the Canadian market is really a little bit, or the companies on the Canadian market are more promotional company and not the production and bring it to the street, I must say. And the US companies are more doing this what they have promised and are much better in the execution of the business plans than the Canadian ones. I have no really clue about the cannabis space itself, but this was the information from this guy. Can you confirm this?
Yeah, the difference between the Canadian and the US market, the cost to entry into the marketplace in Canada is about 10 times higher than what it is in the US. And so the government regulations put a lot of security and quality control mandates into the licensing process. So to build a facility like Terp Wholesale in Canada, and another company that I'm with has one. Many companies spent close to $10-15 million just in outfitting costs on the facility itself. That doesn't include staff. That doesn't include any overhead at all. That's just building security, and you have to have explosion-proof rooms, and it's significant just to build a building. Then all your staff have to be trained, pass security. It takes time. There's a lot of carrying costs in between the construction of the building to licensing of it. So it's a very regulated industry space with a lot of pre-qualifications that are very expensive. In the US, you have similar requirements, but there's not as much of an involvement in security and limitations on product. In California, you can have 100 milligram bars of THC chocolate, for example. In Canada, you're limited to 10 milligrams per item. Mm-hmm. So it's really a matter of the regulation that makes the two markets very different. Both countries manufacture great product. It's just the way they're allowed to sell it that is different, and both are evolving. So the jury's still out on where this ends up, but the US is definitely the place where you would want to be growing a cannabis company.
Mm-hmm. This is cannabis. We know MindBio, and I do an interview with Justin. I think the CEO is Justin. Yep. 2 or 3 months ago. Very interesting company. Please look this video. But what are beside the cannabis and MindBio, the interesting companies in your portfolio?
So we also have a couple other companies that we're incubating. One is a shelf-stable food company called New Wave Foods. New Wave has a method of stabilizing food by removing the moisture activity and not the moisture content. So this allows for baked goods to stay shelf stable, but without losing their moisture. And so it doesn't taste any different, but you have shelf stability. So there's that company, and using a similar technology is also an edible company that we have, a cannabis edible company called Space Food. Space Food makes cannabis infused ice cream, cheesecake, and donuts. And they're looking to launch in the Canadian marketplace as well as in the US down the road.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. But these companies produce so far no really revenues.
They're still incubating right now. The news that come with them is obviously going to be their revenues. Space Food does have the ability to sell right away. So there is news pending on both of those assets.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And I saw also then one that you have a COVID-19 rapid test or something licensed for this.
We had a partnership with TBG Medigen. We were their only distributor for their COVID diagnostics, and we made an attempt to get those to market, and we continue to look for opportunities in that sector. But again, it wasn't an acquired or entered into facility or anything like that. We have the right to distribute their products.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Frederick, I think it was a great update. Good luck with all the companies what you have inside. I think the most advanced, or what we hear maybe the next 6 to 12 months, is for sure the MindBio side, the spin-off from them. So I'm really interested in what's here happened, and I will do another interview with Justin to get more insight. Then I think this company alone has much value than the whole Blackhawk at the moment, I must say. Good luck. I hope we have also time that we in 3 to 6 months can do another interview, especially maybe when the spin-out is then in process, that we can talk a little bit what this means for the shareholders, that maybe then we have some questions coming up from the people, and then we can give them a better idea.
Absolutely, Joe. Thank you for having me. I look forward to coming back and answering some questions about the MindBio spin-out.
Perfekt. Sounds great. Ja, es war ein Update. Es ist eigentlich meistens darum gegangen, um MindBio. Das wird der Spin-out werden, der Firma, also der erste Spin-out. Also prinzipiell muss man einmal sagen, was ist Blackhawk? Blackhawk ist eine Holding Company, die mehrere Beteiligungen hat. Wir sehen hier 4 Beteiligungen, hier 3 und 2 noch herunten. Das haben sowohl im Cannabis-Space, da haben wir relativ viel drüber gesprochen auch, das ist ein potenzieller nächster Produzent, der durchaus die Möglichkeit hat, dass er ein Spin-out ist. Die sind alle in Amerika. Amerika ist das große Thema Legalisierung, und zwar auf Staatsebene. Einzelne Bundesstaaten legalisieren ja das, aber auf Federal-Ebene ist es noch illegal, und dort muss es quasi eine Änderung geben, und er geht davon aus, bis zur nächsten Wahl ist das auf jeden Fall erledigt. Das würde einen riesen Boost geben in den Sektor, und das würde dann dementsprechend auch das Ganze nach vorne bringen. Davor werden wir aber einen Spin-out noch sehen von MindBio. Er kann nicht zu viel sagen. Der Prozess ist auf jeden Fall so, dass es ein Prospekt dazu gibt. Dann wird es eine Hauptversammlung geben, Annual Meeting, also ein Shareholder Meeting, wo wir abstimmen können. Wir deswegen, weil ich auch Aktionär bin des Unternehmens, soll dieser Spin-out so vollzogen werden? Ja, nein. Dort sind auch dann alle Bedingungen drinnen. Zum Beispiel habe ich gefragt, wie schaut es mit den Warrants aus? Wird dort dementsprechend, muss ich die umwandeln vor, dass ich die Aktie kriege? Und. Er hat gesagt, er kann das alles nicht sagen. Das wird alles dann in die Unterlagen stehen. Nach diesem Spin-out wird es, je nachdem wie lange das die Börse noch braucht, 2 bis 4 Monate dauern, dass das dann zu einem Listing kommt. Und da besteht das große Potenzial. Ich habe ja auch mit MindBio ein Interview gemacht mit dem Justin. Das ist ungefähr 2-3 Monate aus. Sehr spannende Company, und allein diese Firma wird wahrscheinlich mehr wert sein, als die Blackhawk jetzt in Summe eigentlich bewertet ist. Aber wie gesagt, großes andere Thema ist noch Cannabis. Dort machen sie in diesen 2 Companies ungefähr, sagt er, 5 Millionen jetzt derzeit Umsatz, stark wachsend. Dann haben sie eigentlich noch Lebensmittel Company, New Wave und Spaced Foods, die im Nahrungsmittelsektor sind. Und sie haben auch sogar hier eine Vertriebslizenz für Covid-19-Tests. Also sie sind schon relativ umtriebig. Und ich habe jetzt mir ausgemacht, dass ich, vor allem wenn wir dann wissen, wie der Spin-out ist, und ich werde auch versuchen, bis jetzt ist noch nicht fixiert, dass ich mit MindBio Interview mache und schaue mir diese Seite an, was sie dort Neues tut. Aber wir kriegen halt das AGM noch zugestellt und dort sind dann alle Daten drinnen. Das wird aber nur eine Zeit lang dauern. Wie gesagt, das Prospekt wird gerade erstellt und dann wissen wir mehr. Ich bin, wie gesagt, Aktionär. Die Aktienperformance ist nicht weltbewegend. Wir sind von ungefähr 60, 70 Cent, wo wir letztes Jahr waren, auf gut 50 Cent runtergefallen. Für das, was die Company neu dazu bekommen hat, ist das eigentlich sehr wenig. Also die Performance ist nicht wirklich überwältigend, aber das liegt halt auch vor allem dran, weil sie vorher auch wirklich, also es liegt an zwei Faktoren, glaube ich. Erstens einmal aus Cannabis-Aktie gesehen worden ist und das zweite ist, weil es eine Holdingstruktur ist und eine Holdingstruktur ist immer schwerer verständlich und für den Markt auch verständlich und kommt selten, dass dort eine Höherbewertung ist. Diese Bewertung kriegen wir nur zusammen, wenn wir dementsprechend Spin-off sehen. Und das werden wir hoffentlich bald haben. Das Interview haben wir gemacht. Heute ist Dienstag, der 8. Februar 2022 und haben wir der Dinge, was uns die Company so präsentiert. Fred, thank you for your time. Good luck with the spin-off and before we see then the prospectus and then we know exactly how the spin-off will be.
Yeah, for sure.
Thank
Talk
you.
soon. Bye.